So I heard y'all's frames in Marathon are straight cheeks. Well, my name is Ill Physics, and I'm here as your designated PC proctologist to help you remedy the low FPS pandemic plaguing Marathon since release. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. We've all likely felt the shift where larger new games too often now release with PC optimization as an afterthought. Here's looking at you, Monster Hunter Wilds. So first, kudos to Bungie as Marathon dropped relatively well optimized and bug-free on PC, in my opinion. The one glaring standout for some has been lower frames per second, lower FPS, especially on higher-end systems where this really shouldn't be the case. Bungie's official statement is, for launch, their team prioritized performance for low and mid-spec PCs to ensure as many people as possible are able to play. And in the near term, they're working on a guide to help you get the most out of the hardware you have today. A lot of you have come by my stream to note, and to my surprise at the time, that I'm getting a lot more FPS in runs than other similar spec rigs. And so I thought I'd swing the assist early and show you the PC and game settings I have for Marathon. For completeness, I'm getting at least 230 FPS on Perimeter, at least 190 on Dire Marsh, and at least 170 on Outpost. The average for each were about 250 FPS on Perimeter, 200 on Dire Marsh, and 190 on Outpost. Note that most things here are settings any PC can benefit from, but some are of course specific to my 9800 X3D AMD CPU and 4080 NVIDIA GPU, and I'll note as much when relevant. I also am on a stripped down version of Windows 10. If you want to know how to best fresh install new NVIDIA drivers, I made a video about that and I'll put the link in the description. You can disregard the NVIDIA driver version in that video, and that's the first thing we'll address here. On Marathon release, NVIDIA dropped a game-ready driver with Marathon in mind, but it was causing fan issues and they removed it from their site. Long story short, 2 more releases later, they supposedly have a stable version of their game-ready driver version 595.79, released on March 10th. By all indications, this should be a stable, bug-free release, but I've not tested it, as I've seen no reason yet to switch off of my version 591.86 from January 27th. I may try 595.79 soon, but I wanted to give you all full disclosure on what I've tested myself and what I haven't. Again, use my guide video I provided in the description for fresh installing drivers via DDU if you are not already doing so. Next, I'll show you my NVIDIA control panel settings. Note that Marathon uses my global 3D settings with the exception of anisotropic filtering, which I've set to application controlled in the program settings area. So, image scaling set to off, ambient occlusion set to off, and isotropic filtering, like I said in the global settings, is set to off, but in the Marathon program specific settings is set to application controlled. FXAA set to off, gamma correction set to off, mode also set to off. Background application max frame rate set to off. The 2 CUDA options set to all and default. DSR factor set to off. Low latency mode set to off. Max frame rate set to off. Monitor technology, I have a G-Sync monitor, so G-Sync compatible. Multi-frame sampled AA set to off. The 2 OpenGL options set to auto. Power management mode set to prefer maximum performance. Preferred refresh rate is highest available. I do not cap my frames. Shader cache size is set to 100 gigs. I have plenty of space. The 4 texture filtering areas set to on, allow, high performance, and on. Threaded optimization set to auto, triple buffering set to off, VSync set to off, virtual reality pre-rendered frames set to 1, virtual reality variable rate super sampling, that's a lot of words, set to off, and the Vulkan OpenGL present method set to auto. And as always, if you use G-Sync, be sure to verify it's on for your gaming monitor since it may be reset to off by default after installing new drivers. Next are my in-game settings. First, we're in the video section. The windowed mode is set to full screen. The resolution is set to the resolution of my monitor. The field of view is set to 105, which is the max. The graphics quality is set to custom. The anti-aliasing is set to NVIDIA DLSS. My resolution scaling is set to balanced, but you can probably play around with this a little bit for yourself. The big one is DLAA. I've heard that that's kind of the no-go right there. Screen space ambient occlusion set to low. Apparently, this is likely the setting that has the most effect on your FPS, so I try to keep that as low as possible. The anisotropic filtering and texture quality set to 16x and highest because I have plenty of VRAM. The shadow quality set to lowest, the environmental detail and the character detail both set to high, the foliage detail set to medium, but I suppose that could also be high if you want as well. Light shaft set to high, motion blur, of course, along with chromatic aberration both set to off. The UI refresh rate also set to high. I have NVIDIA Reflex set to on, but I might play around with on plus boost if I feel I need to run the GPU a little harder to ensure it's better in sync with my CPU. Also remember that NVIDIA Reflex setting in-game is the game engine level counterpart to the low latency mode setting in the NVIDIA control panel. There's no need to have both on, as the in-game version both works better and when on overrides any low latency mode setting in the NVIDIA control panel. The last two settings are within keyboard, mouse, and sound. Keyboard, mouse, I just make sure that the aim smoothing is off. And in the sound settings, I just make sure that my listening mode is set to headphones if you end up wanting to hear footsteps a little bit better. Last are three quick but important final settings I'd change to ensure consistency in your PC's performance. The first is to go into your PC's game mode settings. Click on the graphics settings in the top right-hand corner and ensure that your marathon game executable is set to high performance. If the game is not listed in the dropdown, just go to Browse, navigate to the Marathon folder, click on marathon.exe, add it to the list, then come down to Options and make sure that you select High Performance, click Save, and you're done. Next, I noticed that when I set mouse smoothing, which is bad, to off in-game, the Marathon CVARS config file still had it listed as on. It still had it listed as 2, actually. To eliminate any possibility of a conflict, I set that to 0, which is off. I put the location for the config file in the description. Just copy and paste it into the search bar, press enter, delete the cvars.old file, open the cvars.xml file in Notepad, and ensure the mouse smoothing setting near the bottom is set to 0, save, and close. Last is for AMD X3D CPU users. Basically, I noticed a while back that taking games off of CPU 0 most times significantly improved game performance for shooters. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty, but my understanding is that CPU 0 handles most, if not all, of your mouse and keyboard inputs, and gets clogged up if the game tries to also utilize it. Taking games off of CPU 0 was a significant finding years ago to ensure consistent GPU and input device performance on my system, in shooters, and even in games like Elden Ring and Expedition 33 Clair Obscur. In order to do so, just navigate to the Task Manager, go to the Marathon executable file, set Affinity, and then click CPU 0 to turn off the game for CPU 0. Click OK, and you're done. Now, one thing that's a bit more in-depth that I didn't cover in this video is a program called NVIDIA Profile Inspector and the changes that I've made there. These are more niche settings for advanced or power users, but if you'd like a brief video detailing those, be sure to let me know down in the comments or on my socials. As usual, if you enjoyed this optimization video and want more, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends below. Leave a comment, tell me what you benefited from, what changes you'd make to suit your particular PC configuration and why, or just to say hello. Be sure to follow on my other socials down in the description. Jump into our 3,000 Guardian Strong or 3,000 Runner Strong Discord and stop by stream if you have time to tell me of your success. I'm excited for what the future holds for Marathon and by extension, Bungie and Destiny 2. So until next time, see you in Cryo Archive and let the best runner win.